Welcome to Backstage Pass with me, Carlos Miguel Prieto, with insights on this week's program with your North Carolina Symphony. I call this program of Tchaikovsky 1812, Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto, and Ravel Suite from Daphnis and Chloe my guilty pleasure, because every single piece in this program is a piece that I adore and that I know you adore. Now, I can sense hesitation as far as, Ravel, Daphnis and Chloe, sounds very complicated. So let me start with this piece, with Ravel, Daphnis and Chloe. So Ravel was not only the greatest orchestrator of his time, the person who knew how to use the orchestra in an incredibly imaginative, full of color way, but he also revolutionized the world of ballet with this sensuous take on a Greek tale, the tale of Daphnis and Chloe. I'm not going to go into Greek mythology because you can actually find the story behind Daphnis and Chloe very easily. But I will go into the story of ballet and into the story of Russian ballets, because Diaghilev, who was a Russian impresario, completely changed the world of ballet with this company that he called Russian ballets. So what was the genius behind Diaghilev was an ability to choose the best composers, the best dancers, the best painters, the best designers of sets, the best designers of clothes, the best choreographers, the best of the best, and bring them to Paris to work. Thanks to that idea, Stravinsky wrote Firebird, Petrushka, Rite of Spring. But the great French Russian ballet is the one you will hear, which is the beautiful and sensuous Daphnis and Chloe. Daphnis is a long piece. It's about 55 minutes of music, but we will do around 35. So I do a kind of synopsis, which uses the best moments of this ballet. It is one of the biggest orchestras we will have on stage in a very, very long time, since Daphnis needs many, many instruments in order to imagine this world of beautiful nature and beautiful romance, etc. You can't miss the flute solo towards the end of the piece. And you can't miss the end, the dance, which is called the Bacchanal dance, which is a dance in 5, which is a very, very unique meter, and it's a very full of energy dance. I would say that after Bolero and a few other works, this is probably Ravel's most successful piece. I would probably even place it before many others as far as incredible orchestration. But I know fully well that 1812 is more well known. So what I want to is to put them on a program next to each other. First of all, because Ravel with Daphnis and Chloe is doing a little bit what Tchaikovsky did with 1812, is using a huge orchestra in order to show in music something that we all understand: nature, romance. We also understand war, reconciliation, bravery, which is the story of 1812. So there are two works, one very well known because it's often played. The 1812 Overture is very often played as the end of a program outdoors. That's the tradition, especially in this country. But I always ask myself, well, why not play it as an overture, since it is finally 1812 Overture, and a piece called the Overture is supposed to open a program. So we've decided to open this majestic program with 1812 inside, with the exact orchestration. What does that mean? When one plays it outside, and I just did this in Hollywood Bowl in LA with the LA Philharmonic, one normally uses the whole cello section in order to portray the opening. Well, Inside, you can realize the dream of Tchaikovsky, which is use few cellists. It's a handful of cellists with a handful of violists. And that gives you an idea of a more intimate choral world. You know that the Russians, and in general, in the Slavic world, choral music is very, very important. And the opening of 1812 is an example of this choral music. So the 1812 overture is Tchaikovsky at his most beloved and his most popular. The next would be the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. So one of the greatest hits of violins is the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. And we are so, so blessed to have, in my mind, the perfect soloist for this piece. And it's my great friend, Vadim Glutzman. Vadim and I have been working together for, oh my God, I'm going to calculate the number of years we've been working together, and I'm going to feel that I'm ancient. But the first time we worked together must have been 1999. Sorry if you were not alive, but that's when Vadim and I started becoming friends. He is a violinist who tours the world playing. He plays on one of the most amazing instruments I know. And this is an inside story. It's the only instrument that could have said, and that said no to premiering the piece he's going to play. So he plays on a Strad called the Auer violin. And Auer was the teacher of Heifetz, one of the greatest violinists of the 20th century. And Auer was alive when Tchaikovsky was writing his violin concerto. And Auer was approached by Tchaikovsky in order to premiere. So here comes Tchaikovsky to Mr. Auer saying, I have just written a violin concerto. Could you please take a look at it and decide if you want to premiere it? And Auer decided that the piece was not worth premiering. So he passed over the chance to premiere the most popular violin concerto. So Vadim is playing on the instrument that said no to the piece that he will play the instrument on exactly here. Instruments, like people, have stories. And this is something that not everyone knows, that instruments have names. And those names are often related to past owners or circumstances. It seems that Tchaikovsky and Ravel don't really communicate, since one is very, very Russian, very, very 19th century Russian. And Ravel is very, very French and very, very 20th century French. However, when you come to this concert and when you hear this program, you will understand why pairing these two works. Because they use the imagination of their own traditions. One is the Slavic music tradition, and the other was the French, to portray something that you will understand immediately and you will grasp immediately. Again, like in anything that we do, a masterpiece goes far. And there's no doubt that we are playing in this program 3 masterpieces. Many people would say, oh my God, this is a stretch calling 1812 Overture a masterpiece. I do believe it is a masterpiece, especially when one gives it the treatment it deserves, which is the treatment of being played inside a hall with appropriate rehearsal and without necessarily putting fireworks to it at the end, which I love, okay, and I even get excited, but I don't think Tchaikovsky had necessarily that in mind. So musically speaking, we will be playing it closer to perhaps what was in Tchaikovsky's dream. And the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto is, oh my God, that kind of piece, that piece that captures you, beautifully emotional slow movement with a beautiful name. It's andante in modo di una canzonetta, which means in the way or in the mood of a simple song. That's the Tchaikovsky. And again, Daphnis and Chloe is one of the most beautiful ballets and one of the most incredible examples of orchestration. If you close your eyes while you listen to Ravel, you will be drawn into a world of different colors, as very few pieces do. Ravel, I just did a piece of Ravel that's one of the shortest and smallest pieces, which is the 5 stories from Mother Goose. And I was amazed at how Ravel, with few instruments, can do enormous different colors. Well, this is Ravel with a whole toolbox, okay, because he has everything in the kitchen of music instruments. And what he does is an absolute marvel. So this program has very, very much enjoyment written all over it, and it's all for you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I will do, which is a lot. Thanks for joining us for Backstage Pass. For information on more concerts, visit ncsymphony.org.